Welcome to United, and I would like to introduce at this very early juncture Mr. Nik Storey. Now, Nick is a former professional coach, analyst and scout, and he's also a massive Red. He's been at it longer than I have even, which says a lot about his age. And he's going to walk us through pre-season so far from a tactical point of view. So to get started, Nick, I mean, my personal take, it's been pretty positive. I think, we've looked a bit sharper, more purposeful, fitter. There's been goals, which was which were conspicuous by their absence last season. Am I right to feel a bit of cautious optimism at this stage?
Yes and no. I think it's great to be optimistic. Certainly that first pre-season game was a bit of a worry, wasn't it? I've had Leeds fans texting me during that game saying, oh, what's happening? We're all over you, that type of thing. But that was always going to be the case for the first outing, and not a lot done since that dreaded Europa League final. But we grew into it after that, didn't we? And what I think you're referring to is that bit more zip to the pass, bit more fluency, a bit more vibrancy to our play. It's clear Amrim had worked on fitness. It's always been a key principle of his. And now that he's had the full pre-season that he didn't have last time, coming in halfway through, it's clear that he's worked on some things, and that's set a foundation level for us. And we've seen some positivity. I'm sure we'll do a bit more detail about, for example, the Bournemouth game where transitionally we were fantastic. We were involving, the right and left 10 in the right way, and we were getting beyond, we were breaking the lines. And it just looked better, didn't it? It seemed to feel more like what we expected from the Portuguese man. And although there's many questions, I'm sure we'll touch on those as well, it was an overall optimistic pre-season.
Yeah, and a lot of that is driven obviously by, like every season, the new recruits. I mean, we've seen Diego Leon is probably won a little bit more for the future, which I would be surprised if we saw him against Arsenal. But Mateus Cunha, Brian Mbeumo, to me they look top dollar. What impact have you seen from them early on?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, let's just say, fantastic signings. That really does indicate the new approach by the recruitment team and Jason Wilcox in particular. Kudos to them, really. They've gone for Premier League proven players. They've looked at, they've looked at the stats, but it's clear they've not overlooked at the data, which I know Jim's big on. They've looked at, can they do it in the Premier League, and for two really good sides as well, especially Thomas Frank's Brentford. So fantastic acquisitions. We might come on to, where 10's the most needed position in the squad, given who we had. But sometimes when a player comes available like that, or both players, you've just got to do it. I know Cunha was pretty early doors. Some talked about pretty early on in 2025. And then we got wind that Brian Mbeumo wanted to come. So you just can't say no to those players. But really notable what Amrim's done there. So when we talk about the mass exodus that we're hopefully seeing in due course, we're looking at kind of wingers, or certainly wide forwards. So your Garnachos, your Rashfords, Antonys, Sanchos. It's no coincidence to me that those players are leaving, and for all their positives as well. Let's not pretend it's not. I'm still gutted about Marcus, if I'm honest with you, but it could be the right move for both him and the club. And now we're seeing, the likes of a classic 10 in Amrim's system in Cunha. And Mbeumo, I'm going to throw a bit of a curveball, slightly less so in terms of a 3-4-2-1. I think he's classic 4-2-3-1, where Mbeumo coming in from that right side. But there's no doubt he can learn that position, and we're seeing some of that in some of the games. But certainly in the Bournemouth game, it was really vibrant, really fluent. It was into Mbeumo coming inside and then in playing Ahmad or whoever in the channels, or the number 9. So it's very interesting. He's got the players he wanted, or the type of players he wanted. Yeah. And Big Sesko, of course.
Well, that's it. We haven't seen him yet, but theoretically, I think everyone's mouth's watering about what he can bring. He can give you that focal point, can't he? And he just gives you so many more options. But how do you see him? I know you were absolutely gagging to have him on board. What difference will he make theoretically to you?
Right, so jumping straight in, I think I was, and I make no kind of apologies for that. And I'm sure that a large proportion of United fans echo that. There seemed to be some kind of debate in pre-season, certainly in the last couple of weeks, about whether this should be the kind of marquee sign or where the funds should go. Number 9 versus our clearly lacking department in central midfield, where we haven't got that lovely holding 6 or the Carrick style player. The Xavi, the Gundogan even for City in his earlier days. And so I do understand the frustration of some sections of the support. But let's make no mistake about it, Rasmus Højlund didn't perform how we expected him to. We can talk about his age, we can talk about the lack of striker that came in with him at the time, the lack of support for him. But I think it was Busby who said himself, if you're good enough, you're old enough. And I think that really was the point I've tried to make in the last few weeks is we can't just play without that number 9. We can't have a 3-4-2-1 that relies on a 9 to bring all the play together. And then, just hope for the best. So whilst I understand the frustrations around the central midfield area, it's clear that Ruben has said, oh, okay, Bruno, you're staying, then you're going to be my first of the double pivot. And then to the side of you, we're going to play with Mainu, Ugarte, Casemiro, who did well at the back end of last season, until we get that player that we need in central midfield.
Until that point, what does Sesko bring? What options does he bring to the table?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? He's still unproven at 22 in a sense. But when you look at his stats for the last 3 years, especially the last 2 seasons, I think he's the highest or second highest scoring under 23-year-old in the top 5 leagues. He brings hold-up play. He's good in the air. Is he 6'4", 6'5"?
5, yeah.
He's suspiciously fast on the ball for such a tall man, as the old saying goes. He carries the ball well, and he's got some thunder in that shot. So, it's everything you wanted Højlund to provide, who still might provide that in the future, by the way. But right now, it was a gaping hole. It was a massive need in the system. If you had a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, that number 9 isn't quite as central, isn't quite as important. And that's why I think they've gone in the order they have done. And that's why Sesko, hopefully, he will bring it all together. Now, whether he flies or not, whether we hit that kind of nadir, the top 4, or really challenging again, that might take another couple of seasons. Mm-hmm. But he will come in and make the system, if anything, a lot more fluid, a lot more efficient. And if he can just hold that ball up, allow Mbeumo and Cunha to work off him, allow Fernandes to come up and support, Kobe, when he'll get his minutes this season, when he comes into that final third, he really does seem to come alive. So I think with Sesko coming in, dropping into the pockets, bringing others into play, getting beyond, no doubt about it, he'll bring a bit more fluency to us in that top end of the field.
So, for my money, I don't know if you share this observation, but I think we've just spent too much of the last probably 2 or 3 seasons with the ball in our own defensive third, and it's about time that we're able to move it into the opponent's final third and sustain some pressure. And to my mind, the way you do that is by just getting the ball there. And if it can stick at number 9, who can then bring the 10s into play, bring the wing-backs into play, you give yourself a better chance, don't you?
Absolutely. Again, you've hit the nail on the head. There's 2 questions there. How are we playing out? And then once we do get into the final third, how are we holding it? How are we, having patience in that final third for sustained attacks? And as we used to call, kind of out then back in and round. We don't see a lot of that so far under Amorim. So firstly, how do we play out? I think we are going to see a lot of direct balls into Sesko. Mm-hmm. It's been shown with Onana and Højlund, so I don't see how that changes when you've got someone a bit more proficient at holding the ball up. I think we see that more. Yes, it's a bit more too direct in some cases, certainly more direct than I personally would like it. But and then we're going to see the kind of play out that we've seen in pre-season. So over to right or left centre back, into the wing back, and then that wing back's got 2 options. Does he come inside to a Kobe or a Bruno or Casemiro and then into the 9, or are we just going to see Yedalo and Dorgu, or Ahmad and Dorgu, sweeping balls inside into Sesko, which we saw a lot when Ahmad played there as well. That seems to be quite a thing. Ahmad staying wide on the touchline, and then balls coming to him from Euro. First time ball in swinging, kind of cutting across the ball into the number 9. So I think he's absolutely crucial to the system in that respect, and will provide that what we call in front of defence armoury, if you like, that Højlund never quite had. Højlund had some behind defence skills, some proficiencies, but in terms of what Sesko provides, he provides a lot in front of his centre-backs. He provides that kind of link play that you alluded to, bringing in Mbeumo, Cunha, Fernandes coming up to support that, and then he can get in behind as well with some raw pace. So it's exciting to have a number 9. It's just like, at last.
Exactly, and to my mind, it gives you a lot more options in attack, and the more options you have, the more the opponents have to prepare. Really, they have to run different scenarios, don't they? Or will they come at us this way? Will they come at us that way? And that will compromise the way that they approach the game as well. So it just feels like last season, take the Europa League final, which nobody in the right mind would ever want to re-watch or revisit. But it just felt like Spurs knew that if they scored, we wouldn't.
100%.
Now, I think we can mix it up. If you concede first, you can try different ways, and you can just, like I say, pose more questions and just be a lot more difficult to play against. Because for too long, and this isn't just a Ruben thing, it's a Ten Hag thing. It's symptomatic of constantly changing the manager over so many years. We've been too easy to play against.
100%, and it goes back to that profile he's brought in. We've mentioned Mbeumo and Cunha a couple of times, and both of them provide very different link play with Sesko. So you're absolutely right. We'll have Cunha dropping in at times, taking the ball off the central midfielders, even the defence at times with Shaw and the likes of Mazraoui and Euro from the left side, taking the ball direct and carrying and really taking that forward. Dorgu staying high and wide, and that link being really interesting with Cunha very much central and Dorgu on the outside of him. And conversely, on the other side, we've got Mbeumo and Ahmad, which seems to be a popular pairing in pre-season. Although let's not rule out Dalot just yet. He's got a lot of qualities, and he was, after all, the second most played player under Amorim last season. Yep. But that right side offers something completely different, where Sesko will be kind of more in the corners and Mbeumo cutting inside. So we're ensuring that we've got two very different approaches. So a lopsided 3-4-2-1 at times, but one in which is probably purposely planned that way, and one in which Sesko will have two very different roles, whether he's going left to link with Cunha and then getting in the box, Dorgu finding the cross from the byline, or whether it's right side, where what I think we'll see, I don't know whether you agree, Steve, is Mbeumo and Ahmad having a lot of penalty area kind of input, and that kind of right zone just inside the penalty area near the touchline, and getting crosses into the back post, and Sesko being obviously alive to those kind of opportunities.
That'll do for me, scoring from some crosses for once, that'd be nice.
Absolutely, and I think that's the beauty of the signing, isn't it? You're not necessarily just going wide and whipping it in, which we will see at times, but you're actually seeing hopefully some intricate link play that allows Ahmad and Mbeumo to get into the penalty area and then pull in the slightly deeper penalty area crosses, which is where we've seen Sesko come alive for Leipzig.
But obviously it's not just about the new signings.
Yeah.
You would hope that having these new boys in, hit the ground running, it's going to elevate the whole team, isn't it? Because it's just going to bring greater function. Because last season, apart from probably Bruno, there was no one in that squad who was able to perform their role brilliantly, perfectly, because it was in a dysfunctional unit.
Yeah.
Ruben's looking to make it a functional unit, and that will provide a platform for everyone to elevate their own games.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at the signings that Ineos themselves have made since Aidan Heaven, Patrice Dorgu, and then obviously the latter three, I think you're actually seeing some really clear planning. You're seeing those guys either mentally not at it, not at it on the football pitch, and they've just said enough's enough. And I think that's what's been really good about the pre-season, or certainly since Ineos came in, is a clear recruitment strategy to ensure that the makeshifts are gone, and that we're in with some solid Premier League proven players And you're absolutely right. You're seeing a lot more intelligence on the pitch now, and if we can involve them in the right areas of the pitch, then then hopefully we'll see a lot more positivity.
And you mentioned Dorgu there, obviously. As a rule, I tend to, if a player arrives mid-season, I would discount their first half season, just while they're bedding in and everything. And I think that's probably the right way to go with Dorgu, because last season, we spoke quite a lot. I wanted to see more proactivity, more confidence from him on the ball, and he just seemed to be playing a bit too safe while he was bedding in. Now that we're through that awkward half season, I think he's been one of the standouts of pre-season, hasn't he? He looks powerful, he looks like he's got a lot more purpose about him, and just confidence on the ball, and just happier, bedded in, and as I say, elevated by the collective being more functional.
Yeah, I think you've said everything there. I think Dorgu's been one of the standouts of pre-season, absolutely. From the Leeds game onwards as well, it was clear that he'd done a lot of fitness work. He's tried to adapt to the Premier League. Kudos to Amarim and his coaching team. They've clearly had a lot of time with him. You've said yourself there, more robust, more thinking on the ball, not always going backwards. He's being positive in his intent. He's driving forwards. His goal was proof of that. And he just seems to be making third man runs, off the defender's shoulder, and being more involved in that final third. Whereas, like you've said, a bit of a slow start at United, a bit cautious on the ball, often going back inside, going back to his left centre back. And now I think we're seeing the real Dorgu and what they've scouted. I believe he was scouted for a long time, with lots of analysis done. So it now seems to be proving to be the right thing and showing fruition.
So I think optimism is the way to go, isn't it? It's looking a damn sight better now than it's going to be a damn sight better this season than last season, surely.
Yeah, there's still those question marks over goalkeeper and central midfield area. I know everyone's been excited recently with the links to Baleba, which I call him Kobe plus, Kobe on dynamite. So that would be superb. But even without that, you've got the new front three, you've got the new way of playing in the two 10 positions. It's looking more positive. You're going to add goals. You're going to add, you could argue, 15 goals each, plus maybe more for Sesko if he starts in the right manner. And now the key question seems to be, regardless of whether we get a Baleba or not, is what happens to Bruno? I know that he's very fond of him in central midfield, as we saw in the final, to our chagrin. I remember our discussion about what that final should look like, and we were overrun against Spurs in the middle there. And although we've not got Europe this season, it's still a worry for me. So until we sort that out, and again, it's regardless of whether we bring in a storming 6, come 8, who can carry the ball, where does Bruno go? We're still seeing him drifting out of possession. We're still seeing him come into those right and left pockets a little too much for my liking, and leaving that area in the centre completely vacant. I still think his best position is in that left 10 position, where he can really help the central midfield double pivot. And yet that position is overrun with talent now. Cunha, Xerxes, Mount. So that's the one key question that keeps on coming back to me. But apart from all that, it's looked a lot more positive. The guys are obviously a lot fitter. They're a lot more instructed by Amarim. They know what's happening. They know where to go. They've done a lot of positional work in pre-season. And apart from that, it just seems to be a real buzz around the camp, and there seems to be a lot of tight-knit friendships going on, and everyone seems happy with what the club are doing at the moment.
It's a unit, isn't it? Feels more like a unit.
Absolutely.
Bring on Sunday.
Bring on Sunday. Let's do this.